Okay, we are going to be doing activity 2, creature features, for this little installation of directions here. So if you are watching this video, you are ready to begin the procedure of creature features. So you've already done the intro, and you're on this step right here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to read the directions, and then if you want to stop, I'll give you time to stop so you can go and read the text yourself, or you can continue on and listen to me read it aloud to you. Okay, so in our procedure, creature features, we have already talked about the introduction, and you've written down the guiding question: how are simple inherited traits passed from parents to offspring? It then gives you materials of orange discs, blue discs, a template, which I will give you, and a student sheet. So procedure part 1. Scientists suggest possible explanations based on observations, and they call one of these possible explanation a hypothesis, or plural hypotheses. Remember, I talked about these possible explanations or statements to answer what's going on, a question, as an initial claim. Okay, and that's essentially what a hypothesis is. As you read the story about breeding endangered critters, try to come up with the possible explanations or hypotheses for what happens. So these initial claims or explanations. So in part A, you're going to read the story of 2 endangered critters. And at the end of each passage, you're going to pause and you're going to answer the stop to think questions. It says with your group, but remember, we're going to be doing this part independently. You will have a chance to share out your hypotheses at one point. Your group members, when you do share out, will help you come up with other hypotheses, but we're going to use a Jamboard, I think, after the second passage, and that will help us be able to share with one another and collaborate. So we are ready to go on to the story part, which starts on the next page. So at this point, you can either stop the video, read through it on your own by opening up the textbook. There's an English text and a Spanish text right here, and go through and answer the questions, making sure after you do the stop to think part 2 that you share your hypotheses on the Jamboard. If you would rather continue on listening to me, and I also have some visual aids to show you, I will continue on. You can just pause after each section so you can jot down your answers in the stop to think in your slideshow. So make your decision and either stop or continue on. Okay, endangered creatures, part A, the first generation. Imagine 2 islands in the ocean, far from land. The only known population of blue-tailed critters lives on one island. The only known population of orange-tailed critters lives on the other island. The critter population is shrinking, and critters have just been classified as an endangered species. Although they produce many offspring, very few of the critter offspring survive in the wild because most are eaten by the black-billed yellowbird. So we have 2 of them here. Sky is a rare blue-tailed critter. And here's a rare orange-tailed critter, Poppy. So Sky, Poppy. Critters are hard to capture, so very few critters exist in captivity. Sky, a blue-tailed critter, lives in Petropolis Zoo. Poppy, an orange-tailed critter, lives in Lawrenceville Zoo. Critters reproduce by sexual reproduction. The research departments in the 2 world-famous zoos have decided to try breeding Sky and Poppy in order to produce offspring and keep the rare critters from becoming extinct. Breeding involves intentionally mating 2 organisms to see what offspring they produce. The process is often referred to as a crossing. Just as a side note, the offspring would be known as a cross between Poppy and Sky. So stop to think number 1. Discuss this question with your group. What do you think the tails of Sky and Poppy's offspring will look like? Pause the video now and answer the question in your slides. Okay, welcome back. We're going to go on to, before we go on to part 2, I actually want to show you a picture. When we talk about organisms breeding, sometimes we draw out diagrams. This is a common diagram on something called a pedigree, where we have a horizontal line connecting two organisms that are going to breed. Then we draw a line down that shows where the offspring is that are going to be produced from these two that breed. Okay, going on to part 2, the second generation. The breeding program is a great success. Sky and Poppy produced 100 offspring. However, all 100 of these second generation critters have blue tails. The scientists are concerned. Will the orange tail trait be lost, they wonder? The zoo scientists wonder why none of the critter pups have orange tails. They begin to argue about several possible explanations. Okay, and so let me see what we have here. And so if we were to have Sky and Poppy, here's another way to express it. Sky is a male. We usually represent that by the letter B. Poppy is orange. Sorry, not B for male. Sorry, a square for male. Poppy is orange. We use circles to represent the female. And here's just one example of their possible offspring. Notice that these are all B's. Okay, B's for blue. It shows that it's predominantly blue. Now, this is not all 100, but this is just a sample of them. So if we were to draw all 100 of these out, we probably would have maybe 1 or 2 oranges based on this image right here and this explanation found within it. Okay, so stop to think number 2. Think about this question. Why do all of the offspring have blue tails? Okay, this is where you're going to develop an answer to that, an explanation, an initial claim, which we call a hypothesis. Why do all of the offspring have blue tails? I want you to come up with a hypothesis. It says be prepared to share one of your hypotheses with the class. So pause the video, and you're going to go to stop to think number 2, type your answer here, and then go to the Jamboard where you will find your corresponding class period, and you are going to add a sticky note with your idea. Okay, so pause the video now. Okay, welcome back. We are ready to go to the last section here, part C, the third generation. Further attempts to breed Sky and Poppy are unsuccessful. However, once Sky and Poppy's offspring mature, they begin to have pups of their own. The scientists are fascinated by the results. Some of Sky and Poppy's grandpups have orange tails. The scientists noticed that about 1/4 of all the pups in this third generation have orange tails. The rest have blue tails. Okay, so last time it was almost all blue, maybe 1 orange here and there. But now we are about 1/4 orange. We're still more blue. We're at about 3/4 blue. But now we have a little bit more orange, 1/4 orange. So does the evidence so far from the second and third generation help you decide which hypothesis or hypotheses might be correct? Explain. It says to use student sheet 2.1 to evaluate right here. And that's what we're going to be going on to for the next one. When it says evaluate, that's when we're going to be collecting evidence for the second part. For this part, think about what you have for your hypothesis, and you can also view the ones that are on the Jamboard. There might be other hypotheses that you feel after reading section 3 are more might be more able to be correct, okay? So use either yours or one of the ones that was shared on the Jamboard, and what I want you to do is rewrite that hypothesis, and does the evidence help you narrow down which hypothesis might be correct, okay? When you are done with that, you are ready to go on to procedure part 2.